Hi everybody, my name's John Lacey and this is Coffee and Content, the weekly live stream about video, live streaming and content creation. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're we're actually broadcasting to LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube this morning. So if you're hanging out there in live land, please say hi in the chat. I'd love to hear where you're coming to me from today. Now, as advertised, we last week obviously we did see Thanksgiving and Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I did caution people about not getting too carried away in terms of purchasing things that they may not need, and some of that advice was for me just as much as anybody else. So keep that in mind. But today I wanted to unpack some of the things that I did actually purchase in terms of software, hardware, and some services as well. And I must admit, I've literally just come from another podcast recording. Like it ended 4 minutes before this session actually started. So bear with me a little bit. But one thing that I do have, and I'll talk about this in a second, is that some of the more observant people out there might have noticed a new microphone. This is the Shure SM7B. So let me just let me talk about that a little bit. So I think people that know me out there kind of know that I was really obsessed with Rode equipment. And I love Rode microphones. I have many of them. I've got the Rodecaster Pro. I think they're a great company and they do amazing things. But I must admit, this is the microphone that like all of the YouTube live streamers were using. And I did have a little bit of FOMO. And hello to Garen Bellany, who's joining us out there in LinkedIn land. It's good to see you, Garen. So yeah, this is a great microphone. It's a beautiful microphone. I've only obviously had it for about a week now, and I haven't put it through its paces completely just yet. But I'm very excited about it. It's a really nice looking microphone. I like the shielding. And it actually comes with two windshield options. One that's actually even thicker than this. So if you really want to get in close and actually have that bassy proximity effect, you can do that with the other windshield as well. So like I said, I love my Rode mics. I'm probably going to go back to them, back and forth between them. Because I'm very fond of them. I guess in a lot of ways, there's not a lot of technology out there at the moment that isn't pretty good. I know there are certain microphones that people are very opinionated about. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's, you really can't go wrong with this technology. And I feel like I've been saying this for weeks now, but I literally, my first YouTube video ever uploaded happened 15 years ago. And if I reflect on the equipment I was using, the Sony Handycam type thing that I was using at the time, and compare that with what I'm using today, like there's no comparison. We've got it so good, and I think it's important to sort of be appreciative of that a little bit. So one thing I will say though is that I'm using the Rodecaster Pro, the original version. So all of the advice out there sort of recommended that. It would be a good idea to get some preamp amplification happening there. So I actually bought the Cloudlifter mic activator. I actually bought the unit with the two XLR inputs. So I was really curious to actually try out some of my other dynamic microphones with this, and I haven't really had a chance to do it. I mean, this is one of the Rode offerings, which I do like. This is the Rode Procaster. As much as I love Rode, they have a funny way of naming all their equipment in such a way that it all sounds the same. Like I always have to look at my Rodecaster to differentiate between it and the Rode Procaster. So that's literally the Rodecaster Pro, and this is the Rode Procaster. So maybe a little bit of differentiation in those names would go a long way. But I certainly, like I said, I got the Cloudlifter. It works really, really well. It boosts the signal that comes into the Rodecaster, and it's working well. And obviously there's a few smaller XLR cables. I actually didn't know you could get cables this small. These are 0.5 meter, but they're so useful because they just come out of the output of the Cloudlifter and into the unit itself. So that's pretty much the hardware portion of today's proceeding. Obviously, this is coffee and content, and I madly made this cup of coffee in about 4 minutes before we went live, so I better drink some of it. So I'm curious if you are out there live today, were you tempted by any of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday specials? Have you got any new exciting equipment? I'd love to hear about it in the chat. So let me know about that. Let's dive over to another thing that I purchased. And this one, and again, I haven't quite... Let me see. This is what happens when you don't actually test your scenes properly. Let's just crop that out. Yep, there we go. So one thing I did purchase, and this was actually from via AppSumo. So this is Happy Scribe, and I'm a big proponent of actually captioning videos. I know some platforms have some automated captioning services. They're okay. They're not perfect. And I think it's really important to consider the people that might be viewing your content, your videos, and just making sure that they're able to get your content. We don't really want to leave it to some AI technology to guess what you're saying. I think if you've made a video that's worth sharing, you really want to make it as available to as many people as possible, including people that may be hard of hearing, they may be deaf. They may just have to have the audio muted for any number of reasons. So I did, and it's funny because I was actually leaning really heavily towards the script for a while there. And in the video and live streaming news with Sam Proof, I sort of explained that was one of the things that I was really looking very closely at. But ultimately, I decided to go a different direction. And essentially, I've ended up with Happy Scribe. And with the particular plan that I got from AppSumo, I have 6 hours of automatic transcription per month. One of the things that's really interesting about Happy Scribe. One of the things that I find really interesting about Happy Scribe is that when you go to upload the video, they actually give you an option to specify sort of the accent of the speaker. And I don't really know if that has much bearing on the transcription itself, but I'm just really intrigued by that because I've not seen that anywhere else. But essentially what you can do is you can upload your video or your audio files, and you can sort of get it to transcribe automatically within here. And this is a version of the video and live streaming news, which will probably go out tomorrow. But essentially, we've got our transcription on the left-hand side. We can watch the video. You can actually see the timing down here as well. I do have very particular ways in which I like to work in terms of the captioning. So I do find this much more intuitive than Descript. I know that's a controversial statement. I know people are really, really a big fan of Descript. One thing I do appreciate about Happy Scribe is it's much less literal. And what I mean by that is that if I sort of stammer or I say the wrong thing in Descript, it will spell out every like if I say I, it will print out those 3 things exactly as written. And I'm not really of the opinion that my captions need to be verbatim what I say in that sense. And I guess the thing about the script is you do have the option to just sort of go in and delete the mistakes, but it can sound incredibly unnatural. And I kind of wanted them outside of the transcription, but still within the video, because I want to speak the way that I actually do speak in real life. And I found that really, really difficult. Whereas Happy Scribe's almost the opposite. Like sometimes I will put some ums and ahs back in here just to make it more representative of what I've actually done. So in the event that maybe I have stammered, maybe I want to indicate that I was a little uncertain at a particular point in time, I can actually go back and include that as well. So You do have options to actually download this as a video with subtitles or subtitles only. I haven't really done much with the video with subtitles because I personally do like to bring the SRT files that I generate out of this back into Camtasia so I can work with them there. But it's difficult to overstate how much of a block this has been in my workflow because I really do want to include them. I want to make sure they're right, but doing them manually from scratch is really really painful. Um, so that's another thing that I got from AppSumo. I'm not sure if it's still available as that deal, but you can certainly go to happyscribe.com and learn more about that one. Another thing that I invested in, not really for Black Friday, but probably the week up to Black Friday, was actually Restream. So Restream is something, and I won't show you this at the moment because I'm literally using Restream at the moment to talk to you, and it might get a little bit meta. So we'll hold off from actually doing that right now. But essentially, Restream gives you the ability to take your video and your live stream content and send it out to a number of destinations. I already mentioned that today we're going out live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. In fact, we're going out on 2 different YouTube channels, which is a whole other discussion for another time. But it's something that I can do really easily with Restream, and that in itself is probably worth the membership cost just by itself. That is so cool. And I guess the other thing too, it's worth mentioning that there is a free version of Restream. So if you only want to broadcast to two channels at a time, you can certainly use that. It will include some Restreaming branding by default, but you can always go over to your accounts in those various destinations and actually edit that after it's been posted. So that in itself isn't a big deal, but I just wanted to extend my reach a little bit and share that content out a little bit further. But there are a number of other things that are actually quite useful within Restream that are worth talking about. One of my favorites is actually the ability to stream a video file. So if you've created a file, it could be anything. It could be, stream a video that you've created earlier. It could be a previous live stream. You do have the ability to actually upload that video to Restream and then schedule it out at a particular time and share it with different places. One of my favorite uses of that is actually sharing longer videos on Twitter. Because I think you only get like a little bit over a minute or a couple of minutes, I think. I don't know the exact number. I probably should have looked that up. But you can't upload very long videos on Twitter. But conversely, your live streams via Twitter can be as long as they need to be. So I can schedule that out and that can post to Twitter. And I mean, I can do that on any number of platforms. Obviously, you probably want to indicate somewhere that it's not actually live in case there are people in the chat waiting to interact with you and they're getting frustrated that they can't and you're not referring to them. But that is certainly a very, very cool option. And I guess the other thing too is Restream has its own Restream Studio. So I'm a big proponent of OBS Studio. That's what I'm using to talk to you today with. But that can be a little bit daunting for people that are new to streaming and, people that may want to have a number of guests come in and join their conversation. So Restream, Restream Studio, you can sort of go in and you can just bring in your people, bring in your sources, you can share your screen, you can have multiple cameras, whatever you need to do. The only thing that I find a little bit frustrating about that is you are kind of limited in how you arrange your screen. Like they have a handful of default options and you really do have to work within those. But I must admit, we do use it for the video and live streaming news with Soundproof. That is something that I do. We actually have our conversation within Restream Studio and I record it there, but we do also record our individual sources via OBS and I usually use those to actually edit the podcast before it goes out. So there are a couple of, different things, but I think honestly Restream is, and it's funny because I was quite daunted by the price of it initially, but I really think it is worth it. if you're streaming on a regular basis, it's definitely worth the investment. Okay, let's stop and have some more coffee. This is Coffee and Content, the weekly live stream about video, live streaming, and content creation. I'm John Lacey. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going out today on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you're in any of those places and you're watching live, let me know in the chat where you're coming to me from. And also, have you been tempted by any of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday specials? Have you bought any new exciting equipment for video or content creation? I'd love to hear about it. Admittedly, up to that point, I had been sort of telling people and telling myself as much as anything, make sure you need it, make sure you don't get carried away, because the FOMO is very palpable around those sales. And it can genuinely be a little bit overwhelming when you look at your inbox on Black Friday and just see, 3,000 different things that you can actually, potentially purchase. You won't need them all, you won't use them all, but there is that opportunity. So, I have tried to be very good and not get too carried away myself. Just recapping those things that I have purchased, the Shure SM7B, which is a great microphone. And again, I do have some other microphones that I probably would have done the job, but I just really wanted to get a sense of how this one works. Additionally, I got the cloud lifter. So let's go back to this view actually. So we got the Shure SM7B. I got the cloud lifter, and I actually got the double version. So I'm really curious to see how this works with other dynamic microphones. Like I said, I've got my Rode Procaster here. I'd love to see how that goes with a little bit of gain boost. And also got these XLR cables here as well. And as well as those things, I've also invested in HappyScribe, the audio transcription service. I'm really loving HappyScribe right now. It's difficult to explain how simple this actually is, and I really do enjoy it and appreciate it. So thank you to HappyScribe, and thank you to AppSumo for making me aware of that one. That was really, really cool. And also, the last thing I invested in this sales season was Restream. And I like Restream as well. So those are the things that I've invested in. I'm really appreciating. I think they're working really, really well for me and my process. And I think sometimes you really need to develop a process, because I think the danger is that you can be recreating the wheel every single time. And I think it's really worthwhile to actually figure out a process and just see what that looks like, and make sure that you can reproduce it, and reproduce it often, or as often as you need to. Because we all know that as new content creators, it can be so discouraging when you put your heart and soul into something that doesn't quite get the reaction that you were hoping it would get. But it's really important to keep going. This is Coffee and Content, the weekly live stream about video, live streaming, and content creation. I'm John Lacey. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Like I said, if you have made any purchases for your content creation, I'd love to hear about them, so let me know in the comments. I hope you've had a great week, and I hope you'll enjoy your weekend as well. I look forward to talking to you again soon. And I kind of look forward to talking about OBS a little bit more too, because I haven't done that in a while. We've been caught up in the holidays, the American holidays specifically, and the sales that go with it. So I'm hoping to get back to a bit of OBS Studio soon. So if you've got questions about OBS Studio, please hit me up. Head over to johnlacey.com. There's actually a SpeakPipe function there and links to social media. So if you do have questions about OBS Studio, how you might use it in your content creation process, whether that's live streaming or pre-recorded video. It can certainly do both. Or even just the virtual camera. So the virtual camera, it allows you to create your scene and actually bring that into Zoom meetings, Microsoft Team meetings, Google Meet, all those kinds of things as well. And it's a really great opportunity to include some branding elements for yourself or your business, your products and services, and really put them in the foreground. So thank you again. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.